being on the video on the call today. Today I have a fantastic chiropractor with us, Dr. Nicolos Proupain. He's a French chiropractor living at the moment in Ibiza in Spain. He's an author of 2 fantastic books, and one of those books was actually had an introduction by Dr. Demartini. He is trying to create a movement globally, and I think it's really exciting to hear his thoughts and ideas about human rights and the change of his idea of the new human rights that we should apply. Good morning, go.
Hello.
No, keep talking. In the minute we can start the interview again properly, but I just thought it's good to what you're saying now. So as a child?
Yeah, to me, I discovered different dimension in chiropractic. First, I was born in France, which for me, it's a culture where it's very limited, the perception of what you can do with your life, of who you are and of what you are. And when I was 11, I wanted to be a soccer player. Mm-hmm. And suddenly I had a pain in my leg, in my knee exactly. And I've seen so many doctors, they all confirmed you will not be able to run anymore and to walk normally. And you see all those doctors that confirm the diagnostic and the prognosis, and you start to stress what's coming. I can forget about my dream to be a soccer player. Mm. And then my mom was looking for another doctor, another specialist, found out about a chiropractor, and that's how I discovered it. His name is Brice David. He's very famous now. He works in Italy, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I arrived in his office, and he told me where I was subluxated, and he proposed me to adjust me. I didn't know what it was, but when he replaced the vertebra back in place, I could feel, the current going through the nerve back to my knee, my leg. And after 1 or 2 visits, I could walk normally. Wow. And after I become, I've never been beaten on a 100-meter or 80-meter race. I did athleticism, and I have a fighting school, and I run every day.
Right.
So to me, when you meet someone like Brice, chiropractic makes you open to another dimension. The first one, which is healing, or to understand a local mechanical part that makes you walk. And then I went on to life, and I was following a model. And at that time they say if you want to succeed in your life, you have to study science. So I was following a model, but I was so unhappy. I was losing all my hair. I was stressed. I was trying to be a good student, and I twisted my ankle so bad. So to me, it was a calling to go back to this office, this chiropractic office. And I met an incredible man called CHIRO CHATS. I know it is in Barcelona here, and same from the bottom of my heart, a big thank you, because he looked at me and said, when you twist your ankle, means usually you don't go in the direction that you would love. And that was, in words to words, so much what I was feeling inside. But I have no clue that chiropractic could give this service. I didn't know. For me, it was to walk again, And at that time, it opened up to another new dimension of what chiropractic or even life was. And he proposed me to become a chiropractor. And I said, wow, if I can help children that cannot walk again like I did, it opened up like a dream or a love state inside of me. But I still didn't know all about what I've discovered later. And I would say there is 2 other more experience that changed my life through chiropractic. When I arrived in America, I discovered a new type of adjustment. So, I was this French guy, a bit skeptical, stuck in the mechanical world and the science. And someone offered me, his name is Nicolos Proupain, and I think about I have gratitude for him. He said, why don't you try that? And I was kind of a fighter, in control. And then through the network at that time, adjustment, I really felt what I felt in my leg, the life going back to my knee, in my entire body.
Wow.
And those nerves being active again, being alive again, I really felt like I didn't know the word, but it completely changed my life. I had no clue that was included in the world of chiropractic. Chiropractic opened my life to another dimension. And I thought that was, wow. But that was not the end of the story. Another level, again. And I think there's always new level. But this level was when, at that time I had success with my practice, but when you're 25, you have those first relationship where you get stuck and you don't know how you can function because you break up with your mate and stuff. And I discovered Dr. Demartini's work.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, he calls it the breakthrough experience.
The breakthrough experience, yeah.
And all the science I've studied in France before made sense. And I realized that all this background was not a waste, was not a mistake. And I had there an experience of a connection in my nervous system that I didn't know it even existed.
Mm.
And some people would call it maybe religious or spiritual, well, it doesn't matter. So it made me discover, I think, like my purpose, why I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And as a strategy, because in France, the people are very skeptical and they can criticize you easily. I think they are less open-minded than in Anglo-Saxon countries. My calling inside was to say, well, this inner state that keeps expanding, this inner state of gratitude for your life, of finding your purpose, this inner state of finally find who you truly are and what you're made for, the real meaning of your life. Through a physical experience, not only psychologically, but through a physical experience, this double component is the real dimension I would like to give to my work.
Yeah.
That's the real gift I receive from chiropractic, those different levels of dimension, but a level of evolution. And I think this inner state should be accessible for every human being
Mm-hmm.
as a human right. My first book that became a bestseller, Devenez ce que vous êtes, which is Become What You Are, introduced me to the media world, and I was supposed to meet with people who wrote the human rights in 1948-47. And before I met them, I read those rights, and I realized they were all based on outside force help.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt the calling to say, well, maybe it's time, and maybe our culture, the world we live in, especially now with the virus and stuff, the consciousness is maybe related to the paradigm of those rights. They are like a goal that we aim at, and we aim at outside forces to help us to succeed in life. Mm-hmm. A state that guarantee a salary, or an outside vaccine that helps you be strong in a world that completely changes every day. So my calling from within was say, well, it's time to start new human rights that would be completely in line with the chiropractic world that I discover of ever-expanding dimension and level of consciousness, would be human rights that help you connect to your inner force. So to help you connect to what you really are, to enter that state mm-hmm. that we described before. So that's the purpose of the new human rights, is to give access to everybody to that inner state.
So in your second book, Nicolas, you talk about these 8 new rights, and I love that connection that you're saying with that. Normally we would take the outside in for our own rights and trying to find that inside out for our own rights and our own health. Can you briefly and quickly go through those 8 rights with us so we can understand a little bit what you're trying to say there?
Yeah, so the base of it is the experience I had. Mm-hmm. I think the experience of physically, not only psychologically, but physically enter that state of gratitude for your life, of that we describe, of love for yourself and others, is the right number 1 for people. Mm-hmm. So the right numéro 1 in French, the first right is to just know that it is possible. It's a right for humanity, for everybody on the planet, to know that that state is possible and that it exists, and that people should or could or potentially have access to it. Mm-hmm. Because when I was 18, I was living in a world completely shrink, where I was supposed to follow a model of mathematics, or to become an engineer, let's say. I didn't know all about those experiences that I discovered and that we shared before. Mm-hmm. So that state, the first right is to inform that state is possible. It exists. You can find a purpose, a meaningful life, and participate to a global evolution on the planet. And so it's described in the declaration that you can find on the site, for example. And the 7 rights that are following are 7 rights to help people unwind the subluxation, I would say, the blockages that prevent them for fully access and express that state. So the second state, the first right is the state. It's a right for a person to be free from subluxation and to enter that state. The second right, ask, and I'm calling all my fellow chiropractors, ask for the service of adjustment to become a right for humanity. And he repositioned, so all the rights are new paradigms. So it repositioned the paradigm of symptom as something that permanently speaks to you to reach the state, the right number 1. So it's called GPS. You're guided precisely or permanently by your symptom to go back to the inner state. And the service of adjustment is, I come from fighting, and you don't want to confront something too strong, so you can find a way to get there. When I discovered that the chiropractic school got legalized to be specialist of manipulation, which is a bad word in Latin in France, manipulate people, I think we could position another service that's complementary to chiropractic. Chiropractic is great, but something complementary that is called the service of adjustment, that helps people read their symptoms, read their GPS, because their GPS is constantly speaking about how they can reach that inner state or another level of that inner state. So in that right, number 2, not to be too much in detail, we shift completely the paradigms of what is a symptom. Some people say, I have symptoms, usually it's bad. But you also have symptoms when you get up in the morning and you're inspired by your day, and you're full of energy, and you're full of life, and you're full of inspiration, of creativity. Those are the symptoms that we wish for humanity. What if we were living in a family or in a society of people who wake up in the morning rich of those symptoms? Wow. That would be another world.
Yeah.
That's why the service of adjustment, which could be something complementary to chiropractic or additional, could be a service for humanity to reach that state, which we reposition the service of chiropractic, if they were adjusting, not manipulating, symptoms, as the first profession of health for the world. Imagine. Because that's the most global service we can give to people. If we position the right number 1 to be in that state, the right number 2 to help people read their symptom to reach that state. When people have headache, low back pain or whatever, sometimes because they go away from the state they would love to be in. So reading those symptoms this way would probably make changes. People would adjust their trajectory of life differently and make the changes necessary to enter the inner state of gratitude for their life if they were changing job, adjusting things to go into that state.
In this second book, you actually had Dr. John Demartini do the foreword for the book for you. How did that come about? I mean, obviously you did the breakthrough experience, but you must have formed quite a close relationship with him during your process.
I'm very touched because sometimes, you write a book and you listen to your heart and you say, well, my heart says, I would like those rights to reach everyone on the planet, so everybody could access to that state, find their purpose, and shine like a star in their domain, because people shine when they do what they love. And you think it's maybe a fantasy, and so it's only when you share those visions with people like John, and they confirm it, or they say, well, go for it, or they write like a testimony or a foreword. And if I invite people to read the foreword, because if you take off the writer or who is, what he wrote, the words are so touching. They are really inspiring because they invite people to reach that state. And the reason why I ask him, in fact, the the human rights attracts a lot of people, you know, scientific people, politicians, and stuff. And one of my friend Kim Jobs, that I love so much too, and I have a lot of gratitude for him, said, well, the person who should write the forward for that is Nelson Mandela at that time. So he knew him, I think, for that. But he was sick, and he ended his life by then. And then we said, okay, symbolically, it would be great for human rights to have Mandela as for forward. And then in my heart, not as a second choice, but before I was thinking following the model, but as a first choice in my heart, I said, no, the greatest experience that I've experienced in my life is the experience of love and gratitude for my life and for the world that I experienced with John. And by my heart, from my heart, that's the one, as a big thank you, that I should ask the forward. And I invite really people to read it. It's powerful to read it for yourself.
It is very powerful. Nicolas, can I ask you a question? If you meet somebody out at a bar or something like that, and you say, yeah, I'm a chiropractor, and they ask you, what is chiropractic? How do you answer that question to them?
So I created a new profession with the people that are around our actual president. But the idea is it's a new service. And as you know, to me, there is four big levels of consciousness when you meet someone at a bar or in life. And, you know, it's a bit like what I said at the beginning. I didn't know anything about that. And if you would have told me that I could find a meaning, purpose in my life when I was 11 and I was in the scientific school, or when I was 18, I would say you're stupid. Crazy. Or I would reject it. So when you're a good teacher, or a good adjuster, a good chiropractor, when you see someone in a bar, the main thing is to see if it's like you would love him to go run, but you won't take him for a marathon if he's not ready for it. So it's to give accessible steps, you know, digestible bites for people to discover the fullness of their life. And that's the true service of chiropractic, if we understand it in this adjustment paradigm, in this inner state paradigm. So I teach in STARS, when we teach the approach STAR, or when we form new ambassadors of the new human rights, and there's many chiropractors. The gift is when we approach someone in a bar is to find the vocabulary so the person doesn't disconnect, stay connected, feels inspired since the beginning to discover more and more about himself.
Okay.
And there is some people, when you start to speak, you can say, well, the goal of chiropractic is for you to become a star in your domain. And we relieve the interference for you to shine the brightest as a bartender. And with cocktails and whatever. And some people, they just need to say, well, the key is to be a masterful martial artist and to know within everything you can offer to him, but to be able to give him whatever he can digest and feel successful step by step. And that the communication part, I think the profession of chiropractic, whether you see it as the first level or all the level of all the dimensions we can offer to people, the great muscle to work is the muscle of communication, which is
Nicolas. Also, I mean, you're a chiropractor, you have a practice in Paris, and you're talking about this star concept. Can you explain to us a little bit about what it means to be a star in your practice? So
STAR stands for like a best bioenergetic synchronization technique. It's not a technique, it's an acronym too. STARS means a system. It's a system to learn the communication part for the guy at the bar, for the understanding of the spine. It's called system to transform and access radiance structurally. So it's a system to understand the spine and the physical body to another dimension. In the paradigm we teach with STARS and the new human rights is to see the physical body, the physiology, and the symptomatology as the symptomatology, the physical structure of a star. It shifts of how we see the nervous system, how we see the symptoms, how we see the organs, the form, the shape, and the function. It's
and how you see the person. You know.
The person. as a start. And when you see a patient stepping up and growing, getting rid of something and transforming something, even if it's a little step, it's inspiring. But if there are big steps and it's global, then it's a very big inspiration.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you've said too, that during your journey, there have been little moments where different chiropractors have inspired you, you know, as a young boy, fixing your knee, then surgery with your ankle. You know, sometimes those little phrases that we say to our clients can have so much of an impact. You know, we just have to be inspired within ourselves, and then we can inspire them. Nicolas, it's been fantastic to talk to you today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your energy, and thank you so much for your consciousness. And definitely the listeners here, you've got 2 fantastic books that they can read. How else could they get in contact with you?
Right now, the site is www.theinnerstate.global.
Mm-hmm.
It's French, Spanish, and English. Right now, we are working on doing let's say, a global movie. So any chiropractor who's interested either to be trained to be an ambassador and be part of the team and give another dimension to his practice by teaching the rights as a complementary service to the chiropractic traditional service. It's great. And if they want to participate in the communication to share the message of the human rights and the inner state tour, they are welcome to connect with me to see what we can do.
Okay.
We work in Spain, in France, in England, in America. So it's really inspiring.
Thank you so much, Nicolas.
Thank you so much, and have a nice